Aren't you, Bennett?
No, I'm all right. It was an upsetting conversation.
What did Hester say?
Well, it's not what she said, it's the way she sounded. She was on the verge of hysteria.
Must have been upsetting for her to make that trip to see her brother.
Yeah, they said there's no change in his condition at all.
Well, no wonder she's upset then. She probably got her hopes raised when they told her that they saw signs of change.
Yeah, maybe. The way she drove back to the inn is strange. She took that old quarry road behind the willows. She managed to get your car stuck on an icy patch. But she knows that road's full of potholes and it's washed away. Why in the world would she take it in the first place?
I don't understand that either. Hardly anyone ever takes that old quarry road anymore. And it's particularly dangerous at night, the way it twists and turns.
Yeah, and it's dangerous where it's washed away near those slate cliffs.
Yes, I know. At least we know she's safe now.
Yeah, if she doesn't fall apart altogether.
Did she sound that bad?
Yes, Henry, I'm afraid she did.
Well, when the plane gets me to Norwich, I'll take a taxi out to the Willows. I'll make sure that Hester is all right. And if it's not too late, I'll call you, Bennett, and let you know.
Oh, Dr. Vickford.
Well, hello, Lisa.
Here, take that. It's such a surprise to see you.
Ah.
Oh, honestly, excuse me. Well. I did not let the time sneak up on me. Believe me, I didn't. Hello, darling. It's just that this is my last day of shopping, and I did have to pick up some dresses that I was having altered. And oh, excuse me, would you take those in the bedroom, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Lisa, you look wonderful.
Thank you. I feel wonderful.
And from the amount of those packages, I think you're taking most of New York back with you.
Shh, don't say that. Then you might think I'm being extravagant.
You can spend as much as you want to, you know that.
Thank you. Actually, what I'm doing is buying my trousseau. And the most important thing is the dress I'm going to be married in. Dr. Vickford, it is the most beautiful wedding dress. I
Good.
can't
Thank you,
wait
sir.
for you to see it.
Will there be anything else?
No, that's all, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, is that the end of your shopping tour?
Yes, aren't you glad to hear that?
Well, in a way, because there's something I'd like to ask you.
And what's that?
Would you consider going back to Norwich tonight?
Tonight, Bennett?
Yeah, instead of tomorrow as we'd planned. The reason I thought of it is because Henry's taking the 8:30 flight, and I thought we could go back with him.
Now, I did not urge him to leave before you had planned. It was his own idea.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind at all, darling. It's just, well, I don't know if I can get packed or not.
I'll help you. You know, this is going to be your most meaningful trip to Norwich.
Why?
Because you're going back to become my wife. You'll never be leaving again.
She'll probably think that I like being with you, which happens to be the truth.
Well, Tom. Oh, nice to see you.
Hello.
Well, did you hear from Nancy and Chris yet?
Yeah, they called at the office late this afternoon. They arrived safely in San Francisco and send their love to everyone here in Oakdale.
I'm so glad to hear that. I missed them already.
What are you doing in this part of town?
We're going to try to do some Christmas shopping.
David thought we better eat first.
Well, you've come to one of my favorite places. The food's good and the service is first rate.
Thank you.
Sheila, I'd like you to meet Dr. and Mrs. Stewart. This is Sheila Winston, a friend of mine.
Hi, how are you?
How do you do?
Well, pleased to meet you, Miss Winston.
We met. Remember in the bookstore you came in with your daughter?
That's right.
Well, I mean, now I know just about everybody in your family.
Sheila is holding down 2 jobs at once.
Well, it's
Very
good to meet
busy.
you.
It's nice to meet you. How about if I show you two to a table?
Why,
That'll be
thank you.
fine.
Okay.
Tom, good to see you.
Same here.
Take care, bud.
Is this okay?
Oh, just
That should
fine.
be fine. Let me have your coat, huh?
Well,
Okay, thank you.
and I will be back to take your order.
Good. Well, what do you think you're going to have?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't even looked yet.
You still worrying about Annie?
I can't help it. It's not just seeing her with Doug Campbell at the hospital. It's the way she reacted when I mentioned his name today. And then,
Then what?
I guess I'm still troubled by what Marcia Campbell said to me when I was with her at Nancy's.
About Doug's friendship with Annie.
She said it was a very close friendship. And she said that if she were the jealous type, she would be suspicious of Doug spending so many nights late at the hospital.
You said she also was very complimentary of Annie.
Her words were, but I don't know. I just hate to think that Annie were in love with a married man. And we both know what her feelings were, how she felt about Doug before Marcia came back.
And we also know that that happens sometimes to people. Sometimes to the best people.
I know. It would be such an emotional turmoil for Annie. Because of her principles. And also because of what she went through in her own marriage to Beau. I don't want to come right out and ask Annie outright, but I wish she would open up with us.
Well, Annie has several people she can talk to if she needs to.
But she also has her mother.
Well, if what you suspect is true, it might be easier to talk to someone other than her mother.
I suppose.
She and Barbara are good friends, and she's always been very close with Dee.
Dee is so busy with Ian McFarlane these days, she doesn't have time to talk with anyone else.
You're not worried about that, too, are you?
Well,
You are.
yes, a little.
Honey, I love you for worrying. But both of our daughters are grown up now. We have to count on their wisdom to guide them through the rough times that they might have.
That's just fine. But I know from my own experience, wisdom can get muddled sometimes when the heart takes over.
Well, Jack, you're not going to forget to pick me up, are you?
How could I?
Well, you might.
Not a chance.
I don't know. You get all involved in all that lawyer talk with Grant, you might just forget about everything else.
I don't think that's going to happen somehow.
Well, you know, I wish I could talk about things that come up in your work, but I just don't know anything about the law.
If I wanted to talk about law after hours, I'd be seeing a lady lawyer.
Well, maybe you just haven't found one yet.
Maybe I just haven't looked for one.
But all kidding aside, you know what? I know you like to talk about your work.
Sure, but not all the time. You and I have other things to talk about that I enjoy a lot more than law after office hours.
I hope you always feel that way.
Don't see why I shouldn't. Well, I'll be out front, usual time.
Terrific.
Well, now you know the whole complicated story.
It's complicated, all right. I had no idea.
I'm not very proud of my part in it, Annie, but I told you the truth.
There's so much I understand now.
Does it help?
Oh, Jeff, of course it does, and I'm so grateful to you for telling me. I really respect your honesty, and I know how hard it was for you to face up to that and admit it to me.
Yeah, well, it was, especially the part about testifying against you.
That wouldn't have happened.
You don't know Marcia. I mean, if she decided to start a scandal...
No, I don't think so. It was just a threat.
She still might, Annie.
Jeff, I don't believe that. She wouldn't want to be involved in an ugly scandal either.
That wouldn't stop her. Nope. I'll tell you something. I want to warn you. Don't ever, and I mean ever, underestimate Marcia, because I didn't realize today how neurotic...
Or I'd never get home.
I'm leaving. I'll see you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Goodbye. Annie, I really don't like saying this, but I think you should know that Jeff is not really our friend. You're wrong, Barbara. Oh, no, I'm not. There are things that you don't know, hon. You're wrong about that, too. I do know now. What do you mean? Jeff came over here with the most bizarre story, but it's the first time I've been able to make sense of Doug's sudden change of heart. Can you believe that Doug broke off with me because Marcia threatened to name me in court? Oh, Annie, I'm so relieved that you know.
Barbara, have you known all along?
Not all along, but I found out several days ago.
Why didn't you tell me?
I couldn't. I wanted to tell you so you'd understand, but I was putting myself through all kinds of torture because I couldn't tell you, but I promised Doug that I wouldn't say a word.
Promised Doug?
Yeah, after I questioned him and he told me the truth.
I can't believe he actually admitted it to you.
He had to. I knew that Marcia had found your scarf in his car.
How did you know that?
Melinda told me. Of course, she didn't know the scarf was yours. But see, Marcia thought it was Melinda's because of the initial S.
Jeff said that Marcia thought Melinda was having an affair with Doug.
Well, not only that, she went over to Melinda's apartment and openly accused her of it.
She actually went there? Well, what did Melinda do?
Well, what could she do but deny it? Needless to say, Marcia didn't believe her. Well, not till she started to suspect you.
So she sent the scarf back to me with no note and no return address.
Right. That's when I decided to get to the bottom of it. So I confronted Doug one day at the hospital. He leveled with me, but he made me promise that I wouldn't tell you.
This is all starting to make a horrible kind of sense. All of it.
Don't you see? He's never stopped loving you. He just stayed with Marcia to protect you.
He shouldn't have.
She made all kinds of threats.
Well, even if she'd carried them through, it wouldn't have done any good. They were based on lies. I never had an affair with Doug.
But she said that she had a witness that would testify in court.
Yes, that was Jeff. But he told her today that he had no intention of testifying because he knows that Doug and I are telling the truth.
Oh, thank God.
I have to tell Doug that I know. There's no reason now why he should stay with Marcia. And I couldn't live with myself if I knew he was staying in that awful situation because of me.
But don't you see? It only proves how much he loves you. He was willing to put up with an impossible kind of life just so you wouldn't get hurt.
I know.
Annie, what's the matter?
I'm not going to get my hopes up again. Not ever again. Not until we all are completely out of this.
Oh, good evening.
Listen, no menu, just some coffee, okay?
Yeah, sure.
David, did you notice Doug Campbell just walked in?
No.
Didn't he say to us that he was going home early tonight?
Yes, he had something very important to take care of at home.
I wonder why he's here all by himself.
I don't know, but I don't want you to worry about it.
If ever I saw a man worried and troubled, it's Doug right now. I just hope that Annie isn't somewhere in the middle of those troubles.
Are you sure, operator? All right, thank you. Well, that's odd. Mom and Bennett checked out of the hotel earlier this evening.
Maybe they left for Norwich already.
Probably, but I talked to Mom yesterday, and she said they were planning to check out tomorrow morning.
They may have changed their plans at the last minute.
I guess so.
What's the matter, Tom?
No, I don't know. I mean, Mom changes her plans often enough. I don't know why it surprises me, but...
All the same, you're still uneasy.
Yes, I am, Grant.
Yeah. Because Lisa's going back up there with Hester and Bennett again?
Probably. Am I being crazy?
No, I understand how you feel. You know how hard it was for me to trust Bennett, you know. But look, I talked with Kim today, and I feel a little better.
But what did she say?
Well, it's her whole point of view. I think sometimes women can sense how other women feel, what they want, better than we can. You know?
Well, we all know that Mom wants to marry Bennett because she's in love with him.
Yeah, but Kim went further than that. Yeah, she really believes that Bennett can make Lisa a very good husband.
But you still can't help but have reservations about him.
That's true, yeah. Maybe my problem has been from the beginning. Because I've never really known a man like Bennett before, you know. Look, you and I may not understand what makes a man like Bennett tick, but I mean, that doesn't make him a bad person. He's just different, you know.
Maybe that's one of the things that makes Mom like him so much.
Could be.
But we keep learning new things about him all the time. That's what makes me so edgy.
What new things?
Well, like the headaches, for instance, and his spells of forgetfulness during the headaches. Why hasn't he mentioned that to Mom before? It seems to me, if you're in love with someone, you're planning to live the rest of your life with him, that's something you talk about.
Would you talk about it?
Yes, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, of course, sure. But look what you're doing. You're judging Bennett by yourself, by me, by other men we know, and I've been doing the same thing. Maybe we're not being fair.
Has Bennett hired you to be his lawyer? You're doing a great job of defending him.
I just hope he doesn't need defending.
I just get the feeling that you're trying to put my mind at rest before I fly up to Norwich for the wedding.
No, Tom, not necessarily. Maybe I'm just trying to put my own mind at rest. Yeah, look, I don't mean to sound so worried about things, but I don't want to put all caution aside either. But I'm going to say the same thing to you that I said to Kim. If you see anything strange at the Willows, if you feel at any moment that Lisa shouldn't go through with the marriage, please call me right away.
Well, I'll talk to Mom about it first.
Well, what if something happens that doesn't affect Lisa directly?
Like what?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, if it does, I want you to call me.
But what could you do? I mean, I'll be there right on the spot. I can get to the bottom of it.
I don't want you to do that.
Why not?
Well, you could be walking into trouble.
Graham, what are you talking about? I mean, just a little while ago, you were reassuring me about Bennett.
Well, yeah, look, I'm not saying anything is going to happen. I mean, but let's be realistic. I mean, you said the inn was eerie when you were there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Lisa said, you know, there were a lot of peculiar things that were happening when she was there, too. And, well, I just think we should be on the alert, that's all, you know? Sergeant Lewis said that he'd be willing to still investigate if anything turns up. He's assigned Sergeant Jacoby to take over if we need him at any moment. And then Sheriff Hargraves, you know, he didn't exactly welcome Lieutenant Lewis with open arms the first time, but he'd have to cooperate if there's an emergency.
Emergency?
Yeah.
Grant, you're more concerned about this than you're letting on. Is there something you're not telling me?
There's still something that's gnawing at me. Well, you were the one that brought it up, you know. Ruth Hadley. What happened to her? I mean, look, if she was so fickle, so immoral, why did she spend all those years with Bennett? What was she referring to in that page in her diary? I mean, she claimed she was terrified. Huh. Terrified of what? Or who?
Oh, I have to get going. Pick up Sheila.
Again?
Right.
How is Sheila reacting to all this attention from a guy who once suspected her of criminal actions, huh?
It's hard to know what really is in Sheila's mind.
In what way?
She doesn't talk much about things. Oh, I mean, when we're together, We talk a lot, but she doesn't talk about our relationship or what she expects from it. Matter of fact, she doesn't talk about her past relationships either. It's surprising how little I really know about her.
Have you tried asking her?
Sure, and she answers my questions. Well, at least the ones she wants to. I know that she spent some time in Hollywood, she was very disillusioned, and had an unhappy marriage. That's about it. Come to think of it, she's never even mentioned her husband's name.
Any reason why you haven't asked her for specific answers?
Well, when I get specific, she manages to change the subject. I don't feel I have the right to dig into things that make her uncomfortable. So I've just learned to avoid asking too much about the past.
Still, you're curious, aren't you?
Sure. Wouldn't you be?
You bet, yes. I don't know how two people can get to know each other if they're reluctant about sharing their backgrounds.
I've been pretty open about mine. I've told her about my marriage to Carol and Natalie.
How'd Sheila react to that?
Curious, interested. But she didn't end up telling me her life story. Well, maybe it's that air of mystery about her that fascinates me so much.
And maybe it has something to do with her looks, right?
I won't try to deny that. Well, thanks for the drinks, Grant.
Good to talk to you. Oh, Tom, look.
Yeah.
Doc, look, when you go to the Willows, if anything happens, don't try to charge into it on yourself. Look, I'm only a phone call away. I can get Sergeant Jacoby on the first plane up there.
I hope that won't be necessary.
Well, we both hope it won't be.
Good night.
Good night.
I'll put some salt on that first thing tomorrow.
Dr. Bickford, you coming?
I gotta watch my step on this ice.
Oh, be careful.
Hester?
Sit by the fire. Get myself warm.
Why don't you go on in?
I'm just gonna like mine went wrong. Nothing more wrong with Hester anyway. For heaven's sake, she must have a thing against electric. Oh,
What is it?
oh, I'm afraid. Look. Is she dead?
No, she's very much alive.
What is wrong with her?
She's unconscious, just as she was that night we found her in the upstairs hallway of her house.
Oh, yes, that awful night.
Bennett, would you lend me a hand there? I want to get her into one of the chairs.
Sure.
Here.
Can you manage?
Good. All right. Now, would you get me the smelling salts that she keeps on her medicine shelf in the kitchen?
Yeah, right away.
Dr. Bickford, what's really wrong with her? Why does she keep having these fainting spells?
She's very nervous and very high-strung, and she's probably totally exhausted, both physically and emotionally, from the trip she had to make to see Martin.
Martin?
Her brother Martin.
I know who her brother is. I just didn't know that. I didn't know about a trip.
She went to see him the day before yesterday. The psychiatrist there told her that he was improving, but it wasn't so. False hopes, that's all.
How did you know about this?
Hester told Bennett when he called her.
You mean she...
Sorry, Henry, I couldn't find him right away.
Here, this ought to do it.
Doesn't look like that's doing any good at all.
It will in a few moments. It's all right, Hester. Don't get excited. It's Dr. Bickford.
But you're...
Everything's going to be all right now.
We just got here a moment ago, Hester.
Thank heavens we did.
You must have fainted.
I didn't faint.
You didn't?
No.
What happened?
I was upstairs in my room. And I thought I heard a noise down here. So I came down to see what it was.
What was it?
There was a shadow on the wall. It was moving. And then I...
And then what?
And then I...
She's unconscious again.
She said there was a shadow. It means there was someone here.
Well, take my advice and don't wait till the last few days. The stores are already beginning to get a little crowded.
Well, I guess I'll just have to brave it.
Annie, are you all right?
Yes, why?
Oh, I don't know. I've been a little concerned about you since we had lunch together.
I don't know what you mean, Mom. I'm fine.
Well, you seemed as if you were a little troubled, but you just couldn't bring yourself to talk about it.
I can't hide anything from you, can I?
Well, you don't have to, dear.
Well, okay, Mom, something was troubling me, but I feel a lot better about it now.
Good. Well, I just want to remind you that I'm always here if you want someone to talk to.
I know that. Thanks, Mom.
All right, I'll say good night now.
Okay, give Dad my love. And I love you. Good night. You know, my mother's incredible.
How so?
Her intuition.
Mothers are supposed to be experts at that.
You know, my dad's the same way. They can always sense when something's not right with me, no matter how hard I knock myself out trying to hide it from them.
They're very understanding, too, aren't they?
Yes, very. But just the same, I can't bring myself to tell them about my feelings for Doug.
Why not?
Because they warned me once not to care about him. I think it would upset him too much if I told him how I feel.
Because he's a married man? Annie, when are you going to face Doug and tell him what you found out?
Tomorrow, when I see him at the hospital. I'd do it tonight if I thought there was a chance of seeing him, but I know that's impossible. I won't let him sacrifice his own life because of me.
I'll get it. Hello?
Is Dr. Douglas Campbell there, please?
No, he isn't. Who's calling, please?
This is his answering service.
I see. Excuse me, why would you be calling for him here?
This is just one of several numbers Dr. Campbell left with us in case of an emergency.
Well, I think it was a mistake.
I think it wasn't.
Who was that?
A woman asking for Doug.
What woman?
She said it was his answering service.
Barbara, they wouldn't call him here.
Of course they wouldn't. It was Marcia. I recognized her voice.
Why would Marcia be calling Doug here?
I have no idea.
I don't like it. I don't like it one little bit.
Oh, what happened this time?
You fainted again, Hester.
Oh. Yes, I know I did. I could feel myself going.
How do you feel now?
A little better.
Do you think you might be able to talk to us now?
I don't know.
Would you be willing to try?
Yes.
Hester, who was it you saw down here a while ago?
Well, I never got a close look at them.
Them?
Then there were more than one?
Well, I don't know.
Hester, you said you saw a shadow on the wall.
Oh, that's right. There was one shadow. Someone hit me from behind.
Hit you from behind?
Yes, on my head.
Let me take a look.
Benny too would have done a thing like that.
She has a nasty bump here.
Must have happened when she fell.
No.
She says that somebody hit her.
I think it's her imagination at work. I mean, she heard a noise, she came down here, got frightened.
You're wrong.
Hester, I'm just saying that it could have happened that way.
But it didn't. I've never been frightened before. In spite of everything. Others may have been, but not me. You know that, Bennett.
Obviously, you were frightened this time.
Yes. Tonight I was frightened.
Bennett, maybe it was a burglar or even two.
Well, maybe, but I don't see how they could have gotten in.
I don't see any signs of a burglar.
I still think it's Hester's imagination. It's just as you said, Henry. She was exhausted from her trip.
No. I am telling you that I didn't faint. I was hit on the head. Someone was in this room.
But who, Hester?
Oh. I'm not sure. But I do know it was another woman.